Hi, Matt here. Ugh, someone shut this guy up. I didn't mean it like that. P5X's story is so much better than you think. And no, I'm not just saying this as a massive fan of the series, but when we compare P5X to other entries of the same genre, you can really see how massively different it is. Gacha game stories are mediocre at best. After playing dozens of these free-to-play games, I've accepted the fact to not expect too much from them. Every time I boot up one of these suckers, I know I won't be experiencing Godfather or Citizen Kane. Their stories are more akin to isekai animes, guilty pleasures that you can consume to escape reality and lull you into gambling. P5X's story stands out from the rest of gacha games, and here's why. But before that though, if you love the ending of P5X Chapter 3, then like this video and join at Auto Find for more Persona content. One of the most glaring problems for gacha stories is how repetitive they can be. The writing tends to favor a certain word and you'll hear it on repeat in every dialogue, such as ZZZ's Osmanthus Rice Cakes, Star Rail's allegory of the cave, and that damn bird, and it's so jarring to the point where it no longer reads like a story, but more of a marketing piece. Believe it or not, this type of writing is not exclusive for gacha games, as a number of beloved series are repeat offenders of this echoing dialogue. But the difference is how they evolve the use of those repetitive lines into meaningful interaction that drives the story. Which brings us to Persona 5 The Phantom X, that smartly avoided this trope by using it creatively. The whole chapter 3 revolve around unconditional love, and despite that being the main theme, you'll only hear it twice in the whole narrative, as compared to HSR where both Mem and Cyrene murdered the word love. Now, when we hear unconditional love, we tend to think of affection of the highest order, showing the care and working the efforts with no expectations of any return. Interestingly, this unconditional love isn't romantic at all in the story. It expresses the desires of the two palace rulers, Katayama's love for teaching and Akashi's destructive consulting. This is such a smart way of pitting these two different characters, and yet they're so similar in so many aspects. And I see how some people are still confused why Katayama-sensei ended up having a distorted desire, despite having this good intention for teaching students. It's because Katayama's passion drove her to so much intensity that others will find too overbearing. Her intentions might be good, but her actions are stepping over the line that it is often perceived in the negative light, such as these two students who were going to film an arson for TikTok. Well, yes, their behavior is so dumb, but in their perspective, Katayama-sensei looked like a cop instead of a teacher. I'm not saying what she did was wrong, but it's on how she did it. Even Riko failed to understand Katayama's approach at first, thinking that she's the same as others who's only trying to get in her good graces because of her family's influence and fortune. Then of course, on the other side, we have Shun, who idolizes Katayama-sensei because her approach works effectively for people like him. These nuances are what sets apart in presenting morality in video games. It doesn't outright tell you what is being done as good or bad, unlike in other games where it heavily favors the hero while it downright smears the villain. Speaking of which, this is why Akashi works so well as the antagonist for this chapter. As the opposite side of Katayama of the same coin, Akashi's bad intentions while slowly eating on Katayama's passion as a teacher made him into a detestable character that you will never feel sorry for, until the ending. Akashi was initially presented as this unredeemable scumbag who was only hired to destroy our favorite teacher and spy on the Phantom Thieves. It made Akashi look like a one-dimensional villain, but that is the actual intent of the story. P5X wanted us to feel the same burning hate from Riko and the rest of the Phantom Thieves. They made Akashi into this unlikable jerk for us to feel conflicted once we learn more of his backstory. Because upon learning that he started as this naive up-and-coming director who is passionate in creating shows for kids, this painted him into a whole different character, bordering the image of a teacher like Katayama-sensei, that at this point, if he didn't suffer from his one bad day, he could have been a potential phantom idol. So just imagine Akashi in Wonder's party. But of course, that didn't happen. because of him being betrayed by his fiancé and senpai. Ugh. While I do feel sorry for him, as it almost turned the story into an NTR, his resolution is what made him into an actual villain. Akashi was so devastated from this event that the words from his perpetrator became his new philosophy. The world of eat or be eaten. So instead of bouncing back from his boss stealing his show and girl, Akashi chose the different way, and that is to destroy anything that reminds him of his old, passionate self. This beautiful and cruel parallel of Katayama and Akashi made them so endearing and work so well together in the story. One who wants to nurture the future, while the other looks to dismantle any signs of growth. The irony of this is that Akashi himself started as someone who loves the corniness of Seishun Complex, or the coming-of-age shows for teenagers. Akashi abhors anything that reminds him of his old self, and is also the reason why he targeted Katayama, as Akashi sees her as the same naive target that can be easily manipulated. And he was proven right in the events of the story. Both Katayama and Akashi look so simple on the surface, but dissecting their personalities reveals the intricacies that the writers put forth. The reason why it works so well is because they didn't spell it out. There weren't any subtext or repetitive dialogue that needed to remind players of who they are as characters. Unlike other gacha games, instead of bloating the story with unnecessary dialogue to make the narrative look complicated and layered, the writers of P5X instead chose another direction, and that is to make every scene add a new element to the story. And it's only in P5X where this type of storytelling will work, because it doesn't let any banner characters take control of their main story. Look at how in other gacha games, their story is so convoluted and looks to be a mismatch of different elements, because their narrative is taken hostage by the banner characters. P5X, on the other hand, chose to stay with the main narrative, despite who's the current banner character. And that is the key as to what sets P5X's story way apart from other gacha games. And I know that Riko is the banner character right now and the main story focuses on her, but it makes sense, as this is not the only part that revolves around her, despite the arc having various banner characters that didn't steal her spotlight. Because that is how you actually write a compelling character, instead of them feeling like they're being shoved into the players' mouths. Anyway, let's talk about why Chapter 3 made P5X a must-play game. The ending. Remember when the story initially made Akashi into an unlikable piece of work? It's because of this moment when we learn about his backstory, and now he chooses to destroy everything to the point of no return. Akashi, in the fear of turning prey once again, became an incoherent mess. He no longer wishes to live and is determined to take down everything with him. This is a nasty cry for help, and it reflects the tragic state many mentally distressed people reach before choosing to end their lives. The despair where it feels nothing matters anymore. Seeing a sound, calculated, and cold-blooded character reduced to a wailing mess made Akashi more relatable. In the end, he wasn't this unbeatable mastermind, as his plans were thwarted by Riko and the Phantom Thieves. He wasn't the apex predator, as he was easily debarred by his superior again. He wasn't the calm-mannered consultant, he was a victim, much like Katayama Sensei. I still don't really feel that bad for him, since he chose to live his life that way. The story still effectively told what they wanted, and that Akashi, and perhaps people like him, do deserve to be better. Thinking back, that is Katayama Sensei's whole philosophy as a teacher. A failing delinquent deserves a chance to be a better student. Akashi's situation is just something like that, but dialed up to 11. And this is what Wind and Wander's whole argument against Akashi. This is the beauty of the story. That despite everything that was revealed and has happened, it still managed to contain itself and reverberate the main theme of the story, unconditional love, which drives home the frustration that the Phantom Thieves did everything to save Akashi and change his heart, only for him to succumb to his death. It wasn't what I wished for Akashi, but that ending was needed to push the story forward. Many people compare this to Okumura's demise, but Akashi's end is way different from it. We saw this man manipulate a likable teacher, victimize people out of envy, cornered to a desperate peace, tries to redeem himself, but only to die. In his final words, "I want to live," drives the frustration even more. Persona 5 Phantom X writing team created such an award-worthy story for a free-to-play game. I didn't even mention the number of world building and theory crafting that we got from this chapter. But if this is the direction that P5X is going for, then we can be rest assured we're not gonna have another subway slumber. And chapter 4 will be another story where P5X will stand out from the rest of the competition. So yeah, P5X's story is so much better than you think. Although I do wish we get more out of Persona for this year, especially when they're celebrating 3 decades of the series. But why does Persona's 30th anniversary feel so empty? If you're curious why, then check this video out. Join Attack of the Vine for more Persona content. This is Math, and stay awesome my dudes.